Hi, I'm Jaclyn Ringstmeier, Executive Director of the Greater Medina Chamber of Commerce. Thank you for joining us today to watch our annual Candidates Forum. We do this event in partnership with Medina TV, and I'm here today with General Manager Jarrod Fry.
Thank you, Jaclyn. You will notice today, as Jaclyn and I do not have our mask on, and as I interview these candidates, I will not be wearing a mask, nor will the candidates. We are following all the Department of Health guidelines in regards to spatial distancing, and with being on air and doing a broadcast, masks are not required.
All candidates in local contested races were invited to participate in these interviews. This forum is designed to inform the voting public of their choices in the upcoming election.
The views and opinions stated by the candidates during the course of these interviews are not necessarily those of Medina TV and the Greater Medina Chamber of Commerce.
Thank you for joining us today, and thank you for exercising your right to vote in the upcoming election. Enjoy the Candidates Forum.
Joining us in studio now is Donna Beheydt, of the candidate for the Ohio House of Representatives, the 69th District. So Donna, thank you for joining us here today.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's great to have you. First, why don't you just start off for our residents and voters and just introduce yourself a little bit.
Sure. I grew up in Eastern Kentucky, so I grew up in farming. I grew up in tobacco and coal country. What we grew is what we ate. What we produced is what we sold. What we hunted, we put in the freezer. I am a newly recipient of a 2020 Friend of Agriculture from the Ohio Farm Bureau, so I'm really proud of that fact. After that, at high school, I went into the Air Force. So I'm an Air Force veteran. I didn't fly planes. I get that question quite a bit. But I was in military intelligence, so I did that. I briefed pilots and kept them in the air. After that, I got out of the Air Force. I met my husband. He and I, we've been married for almost 29 years. Gosh, I almost forget. No, together for almost 30, right? And so we have 3 children. My oldest daughter, she's an attorney. She lives out in Indiana. My oldest son, he is a computer engineer, and he lives in Virginia. And my youngest son, he is at the Ohio State University. Gotta say the. And he's a junior this year. He is looking to get some quantum computing degree, physics, math, I don't know. He talks to my husband about that kind of stuff. And then, my husband and my husband is a manufacturing engineer, and we live in Wadsworth Township. We moved around a lot while the kids were young, and when we had the opportunity to come home, we came back to Ohio, and we decided we were going to take our future in our own hands. We bought a business. And so we bought a business in 2009 in the middle of that awful recession at the time, and it was tough those first few years. We thought that we were on the upswing of that recession, and in 2013 we finally came out of that recession. So when I started talking about running for office, my husband was like, honey, if you're going to do that, we probably should sell the business, and because you're going to run yourself ragged trying to do both. And so I sold my Minuteman Press franchise after almost 10 years to another Minuteman owner, and here I am, ready to run for office.
Well, great, and thank you for your service.
Well, thank you. You're welcome.
I wanted to ask you, maybe describe the role of a state representative.
I believe a state representative should represent and have shared values with the people and shared experiences with the people in the district. And I think that they should take the voice of your district and of the people that you represent, and I think that they should put into policy good government, good policy that's going to bring good results back to your district, to really help invest in our children, and we take care of our seniors, right? We invest in renewable energy production, and we take care of our environment. We should be investing in our small businesses, right? And taking care of our workforce. That's so important, and we should be bringing money back to and putting money back into our local government, so we can take care of our communities. We have been clawing money away from our local communities and government for so long, for the last, 40% over the last 10, 12 years. into a rainy day fund. So I see the role of a legislator as a person who's going to take the voice of the people in the district and work for them to bring that investment back into that district. And for all of Ohio. I mean, it's not just for that district, but for the good of Ohio, right?
So as that legislator, what do you feel is the biggest challenge that the Ohio House faces right now?
Right now, corruption. I think that we need to root out corruption no matter what party it's in. The House Bill 6 has really, the House Bill 6 has really just brought to light a lot of things that's wrong with politics in general, right? We need to get big money out of our state house. We need to, again, work for the people. I think that when you've had such one-sided government for so long that they, no matter, again, which party it is, they stop doing the work of the people, right? And the voices that we've been hearing at the State House now has been corporate voices, has been special lobbyist voices. It's not been the voices of the people in their district. And I think that's the biggest hurdle we have right now at the State House is really getting rid of the corruption, getting that big money out of government. You shouldn't be spending $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 on a job for representing the people of your district.
So if elected to office, what would be 3 of the biggest things you would like to accomplish?
School funding. We really need to tackle school funding. And I don't mean laying another layer of voucher in there, or we need to really roll back voucher systems. We need to put more money into our public schools. We need to fix it. It's inside out, it's upside down, and it's so complicated, and it doesn't need to be that complicated. We've got to stop teaching to that one test that grades the entire, school district. We've got to stop doing that. We need to have accountability at our schools, and right now I don't think we have that. It's money that's going from here to private, and it's really just devastating our public schools. That's number 1. Number 2 is broadband. The broadband into our small communities, let's say Lodi or Seville. I know they're getting some broadband down there. But what that does is, right now, especially with the pandemic, it will give our children the ability to get online and to be able to get their education. And to get access to that technology that they need to be able to get ahead, even in a pandemic, right? And it gives small businesses, it gives those people out there in the rural part of the community an opportunity to actually get online and create a business, and bring that ability and that power that comes along with knowing that you're a small business owner, right? And so broadband is very important for me. I think that would be an energizing way to really get our economy going again. Third, I'm passionate about our environment. I grew up hunting, fishing, and farming, and so our environment's so important. We need to protect our watersheds. But here's the other thing we need to do. We need to invest in green energy jobs. We need to invest in that technology and production, right? Let's bring it here in Ohio. We have Wright Pat. We've got Glenn, up in NASA. We've got Ohio State. We've got Youngstown. We've got all this manufacturing. We've got the people. We've got the labor. We've got the technology, right? Let's stop sending our young people out of our state. My daughter's in Indiana. My son's in Virginia. Why? We need that, and we need that right here, right? There's no reason why we can't have that type of technology and environment production right here in Ohio. We could lead. We're leaders in a lot of other areas in manufacturing for years. Let's make it green energy manufacturing and production and maintenance and installation, right? Across the whole state.
You kind of touched on one of the issues I was going to ask in the next question. I was going to ask you about school funding, but you kind of touched that with one of the 3 things you wanted to accomplish. Let's switch that then. And how do you look at business right now because of the COVID crisis and just business in general? What kind of support do you feel the House, if elected, that you could help with businesses?
I know that through federal funding, we have received here in Medina $1.5 million that the commissioners have been able to get out to some of the small businesses. Some of the small businesses have not been able to take advantage of that PPP. You know, it went to a lot of very large corporations early on, so they had that second round come back out. And I know that the commissioners have done a good job with getting that parsed out. But we need to work for and work with getting additional funding out to those businesses. Small business doesn't always have 2+ employees. It could be me sewing, making masks, right? Or it could be me doing, a garden or farmer's market, something like that. But they need support too, right? And so I think that, again, it's bringing money back into our community, back to our local governments, and back to the county so we can get money back out to those small businesses. It's breaking my heart. I'm walking my the communities, and I'm walking into these small, Lodi, Seville, even Wadsworth, and businesses are closing, right? They're shuttering their doors. Restaurants are really struggling to stay open. Bars are, having to close at 10 o'clock. The governor has taken a sledgehammer to an industry that is already reeling from what they had to do and shut down. And now he's making them close up at 10. Instead of taking that scalpel to the bad actors, right? And really just damaging everybody across the board. And I think that as a legislator, we can step in and say, all right, time out. Let's step back. Let's look at how we should be approaching this, and this may not be the best way to do it. And during the pandemic, Walmart was allowed to stay open. Walmart was considered an essential business, but the florist wasn't. But Walmart could sell flowers, and the florist couldn't. That's the disparity that we have got to fix at the State House when something like this happens again. We can't be unprepared again when something like this happens. And I think that the role of the legislator really can address that and really help small businesses in that way.
And now we kind of talked on with COVID and how that's affected businesses. Now, one of the issues that has been longstanding that they've tried to tackle is the opioid crisis. Do you feel that's still something that, in light of everything that's going on, still something that should be at the forefront, even though it might be placed on the back burner right now?
Absolutely. In March, 94 children were in foster care in Medina. And that was the largest number of kids in foster care to date. And that was before COVID. And a lot of that has to do with the opioid addiction and the problems that we have with that and people in recovery. And yes, it's taken a back burner to COVID, but we really need to look at continuing that support. We really need to make sure that we are holding the pharmaceutical companies that put us in that position accountable. We need to make sure that we are still supporting those families that need that support and the kinship care for those foster families, and making sure that we don't forget about them. Because it's so easy today to look over and look past so many people that need the help. And no, I think we really need to keep that at the forefront.
Now, some other issues that have kind of popped up is the social injustice, whether that be the LGBTQ communities or even the racial injustice that's going on right now. What are your thoughts or things you would hope to accomplish during your term?
Well, as far as the LGBTQ, community, I think that we really need to pass the Ohio Fairness Act. And what that does is it makes it so that we can have equal treatment for everybody. And so we need to make sure that we are That particular piece of legislation has been at the State House for the past 11, 12 years now. And it was eventually passed, I believe, last year at the House and sent to the Senate. But nobody at the Senate is really moving it out of committee, right? It's not moving it to the forefront, to the governor's desk to be signed. And I look at that Fairness Act as an opportunity for business to come into Ohio, right? If you are truly open and you are equitable across the board for housing, for employment, for recreation, to all people, business will come to Ohio, right? Big business will come to Ohio that have higher than minimum wage, right? I mean, engineering, more education, things of that nature. So when you're talking about the Fairness Act, that is such an important piece that really needs to get that needs to get out there for equity, for equality. And I push back against the reasoning that people, if I want to give someone the same amount of rights that you and I currently have, it doesn't take away our rights. It just extends them the same courtesy and the same ability to have justice and liberty and the pursuit of happiness, right? And so that is one of the things that I would move forward in quickly. As far as the Black Lives Matter movement, I know Medina City here has moved forward with a resolution that racism is a public health crisis. And I am very much in support of that because I believe it is a health crisis. And Ohio in general, again, it goes back to just because I extend someone the rights that we currently have does not mean we're taking away from our rights, right? We're extending it. Redlining should be gone. We should really look at food deserts, in rural communities and in the cities. We should look at all of these things systemically that cut across all of our systems and really take a good look at that and work toward equality and equity in all of our systems across the state.
Now, in terms of I guess, do you look at, right now, as you look at the governor, the House and the Senate, there seems to be like there's some friction, or maybe not quite all in step.
Just a little.
What are your thoughts in regards to that?
We have become an or society. And it's sad that we've become an or society. I can be a Democrat and support the police. It's not an or. I can be a Democrat and support Republican ideas, right? I can do that. And being a moderate, working across the aisle and really trying to bring down and not put somebody in a corner, I think that that's what we do. We make these bold statements and we back each other into these corners that we can't get out of, right? And then we're stuck. Then we become that or society. We've got to stop doing that to each other. We've got to stop. We've got to listen. We've got to talk to one another. And we have more common ground than we don't. And I firmly believe that. So when I get to the State House, and I say when I get to the State House, I really will work across the aisle and work toward getting things done right here at home for our citizens at home. We haven't had it in such a long time because of the or society. We can become an and society. And every day I work toward that and society. I try anyway.
So as you work towards that, I think with everything that's going on in society today, there's probably a little bit of a disconnect between the constituents and the people who represent them. How would you look to bridge that gap if elected?
I think that our representatives should have a shared experience. So I will tell you my shared experience with our community. Farming, right? I know what it's like to get up before the crack of dawn, to go out, feed the animals, work in your fields all day, maybe even work a part-time job. You know, I've been there, I've done that. I've been in the military, so I'm a veteran. I know what those young kids feel when they leaving home for the first time, right? And going out into the world and going, wow, you know, what's out there for me? What will the world hold for me? And then coming home to no jobs, coming home because you were trained in this much of a job, and now you've got to figure out how to fill out that application and make what you did apply, right? And struggle to find employment. I've been there, right? I was the oldest of five. I'm the oldest of 5 kids, and my mom was a single parent, trying to find housing for a single parent with 5 kids. We were denied over and over and over again. But yet we made just over the amount of money to get help from the state, from the local governments. We got no help, right? The first time I had health insurance was when I was in the Air Force. We couldn't afford health insurance. You know, when I had to get glasses, my mom had to save, and I worked. I've been working since I was 14 years old. We had to save money to buy glasses, because we couldn't afford to just walk in and say, oh yeah, here's $200-300 for glasses. So when we went to the doctor, we were really sick, and we couldn't afford the medications, right? So I watched families struggle with that personally. My grandparents trying to figure out how they're going to stretch that little check, you know, to see if they're going to be able to afford that medication that month, right? And so, and a business owner, I know what it's like to go out, brand new, turn on that open light and wait for people to come in, right? And to put your heart and soul into building that business. And you know, you're kind of like the farmer in that respect. You get up every morning and you think, wow, today's the day. I'm going to go out. I'm going to get that big sale so I can buy that extra piece of equipment that maybe I can give my employees a small raise or take a little extra home for me and my family, right? So I think shared experiences really come from, but shared experiences will give me that ability to reach out into the community and say, I've been there, I can help you, I know what it's like. And I really think that is important in a legislator, that they need to know where you come from and that you've experienced a lot that they've been through, right? And so that's my pitch to hire me to be your next state representative.
Well, on that note, and we're speaking with Donna Beheydt, the candidate for Ohio House of Representatives, 69th District. And Donna, I want to give you this opportunity for you to address the voters directly. So well, sure. You have the mic and you can talk right into the camera.
I look right into the camera.
Exactly.
Well, I would like to have everyone to know, in case you haven't figured it out yet, I'm a fighter. I've been a fighter my entire life. I fight with purpose. I will take that fight. I will take your voice to the State House, and I will work for you. Like I said, I've been working since I was 14 years old. I know what it's like to put in a hard day's work, and I will work for you just that hard at the State House. So on November 3rd, I really would appreciate your vote for the Ohio State House. Again, my name is Donna Beheydt, and put me to work for you on November 3rd. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Once again, Donna Beheydt, the candidate for Ohio House Representative, 69th District. It's the time I give a handshake, but in light of everything today,
I'll
just do elbow and wish you the best of luck this November.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.